And when Paul says, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature, he's not just saying, if any man is in Christ, he's going to start learning some new things. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that when someone is truly converted, truly born again, they truly become a new creature. Their heart really does change. I mean, it is something on the inside. It is something that actually happens. Have you ever wondered why Genesis begins within the beginning and then you get to John, the Gospel of John, and it starts out within the beginning? Because there's so many parallels between, look at this, Genesis, darkness and light. John, darkness and light. What is he talking about? Genesis is talking about the initial physical creation of the universe. That's what Genesis is talking about. John is talking about the recreation of man through Jesus Christ. That he's going to really become a new creature. When you realize that the Bible just isn't poetry or things said in a very pretty way, but that it's real, it'll really change you. You really are a new creature if you really are in Christ. In the same way. Now, Spurgeon said it this way. Spurgeon was one of the greatest preachers who ever lived. Some great illustrations. And he said this. You turn a hog loose in the sanctuary, and that hog is going to run straight for a bucket of slop. If you put a bucket of slop here and you put a plate of fine food here, that hog is going to run straight to the bucket of slop. Why? Because he's a hog. That's what hogs do. But he said, if while he's got his head in that bucket of slop, eating it down, you snap your fingers and have the power to change him in that 1 second into a man, he's going to throw his head out of that bucket. Why? Because men cannot stomach what pigs can stomach. He is going to throw up everything that's inside of him. Why? Because men can't do what pigs do. See, you haven't just taught a pig proper table manners. You've changed the pig. Now, one of the things that's dangerous, that's good about the South, but is dangerous about the South. Now, I'm from the North, but I always said this, there must be something good about the South if Hollywood hates it so much. But one of the things that's good about the South is there's a lot of talk about Jesus. One of the things that's dangerous is when you just learn to have good table manners, but your insides have not been changed. That is dangerous. Extremely dangerous. I mean, my wife is not from here, and she's taught me how to eat properly. She's from another country. When she met me, she had to teach me how to eat properly. I mean, everything else. But I always tell her, honey, you can dress up the hillbilly, but I'm still a hillbilly. Well, when Christ comes into someone's life, He's not dressing them up. He's changing them from the inside out. So the first thing that a family must have is a man who has something more than a few lessons of etiquette under his belt. He really has been changed. Now, it doesn't mean that he doesn't sin. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have problems, because I still sin, I still have problems. But there's a fundamental difference between the Paul Washer standing in front of you now and the Paul Washer 20-some years ago. Something happened. One time an elderly lady walking out of the back of the church, and she took me by the hand. She said, "Oh, it's such an honor to shake your hand." I said, "Ma'am, if you'd have known me before I knew Jesus Christ, you wouldn't touch me. Matter of fact, you would have run me over with your car if you'd have got a good chance at it." See, a fundamental change. Now, father, husband, here's the question I've got to ask you. Have you experienced that fundamental change? Has there ever been a time in your life when God really did something, changed you, and the change is enduring? Not only did He change you that moment, but He continues changing you. Can someone look at you and say, man, when I look at that guy, now he's not all perfect. Sometimes he's rough around the edges, but man, something's happened to him. He really loves this Jesus. He really got religion. So first of all, there's a restored image when someone comes to Christ. If anyone be in Christ, he's a new creature. But then again, there is also a restored purpose. One great love. Now this is very important. Jesus said this, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. Now, I want you to think about this. Husbands and fathers, when your wife, when your child looks you in the eye, when they watch your life, can they see that man right there, in spite of everything, he loves the Lord with all his heart, all his soul, all his mind, his strength. He's not perfect. He messes up, but he loves the Lord. I can see it. Now remember, this isn't a little command. This is the big command. As a matter of fact, all the other commands are summed up in this command. You know, I was out in Huntsville a while back, and I went to the Space Center with my children, and I saw another family there, and I began to talk to them. And man, they were very, very moral, and they were talking about Jesus and all sorts of things. And I mentioned something about confession of sin. And the man kind of hinted to me, well, I haven't sinned in, I don't know what it was, 14 years or something. And I said, what? And I come to soon find out he was a part of a certain group of people who believe that you can reach a point of sinless perfection. And I said, so what do you mean by that? He said, well, I haven't committed adultery. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. I said, let me ask you a question. What's the greatest commandment of all? No, I said, what do you think is the greatest sin of all? The greatest sin. I mean, if you're going to point out a sin, this is the biggest one. And he said, well, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Don't you think the biggest sin would be breaking the most important commandment? I mean, if the Bible identifies a most important commandment, then the greatest sin has got to be breaking that. And he goes, well, I suppose. And I said, well, the greatest commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength. Sir, I don't want to make you angry, but I submit to you, you've never done that. You have never, even on your best day, loved God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. So, sir, I'm not worried about whether or not you committed adultery, or this, or that, or any other external thing. Sir, we are in constant need of grace. And if it is not all of grace, we are all going to hell all the time. Another question you could ask yourself, do you glorify God in everything you do? Eating, drinking, the most menial task. The Bible commands you to do that, and when you don't do it, it's sin. The point I'm making is this. We are commanded not to be religious men. And not to just be rule keepers. We are commanded to strive, to pray, to study, to work towards loving the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And you see a man who's set on that, he'll have very little problems with the other things. So when your children look at you, do they think, man, Daddy's a good worker? Is that the big thing they see? They see, Daddy's, man, he's disciplined. Is that what they see? Or Daddy's a good hunter, or Daddy makes a lot of money, or my husband is really interested in this, or he's really interested in that, or when they see you, what they see is, my husband loves God. My dad loves God. In spite of all his failures, in spite of everything, you can just look at his life. You can hear him talk. You just watch what he thinks about, what he expresses, and you know he loves God. You see? I could teach you, and this is what marriage teachers do. I could teach you a whole bunch of little rules and tell you to obey them, and you miss the whole thing. Because first of all, Christianity is not about ethics, even though it has ethics. It's not about morals, and Christianity is not about rule keeping. Now please, don't go out and break all the rules because I said that. Christianity is about passion. Would you rather have your child say this about you? Man, my dad's real disciplined. You step out of line, he'll nail you. And man, he's real disciplined with his life. He gets up in a certain time. He does this, he does that, and everything. Or would you have your child say this? You know, one time I got up and it was like 2 a.m. I wanted to get a glass of water. And I just happened to walk by my dad's room. And I saw him down on his knees, worshiping God.